Afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to get started soon, so just come on, make your way in. It is absolutely wonderful to see so many of you here for this exciting event and presentation. My name is Pamela McCauley, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Dean of the School of Engineering here at Widener University. And I would like to extend a warm Widener University welcome to my colleagues, to the dedicated students. I see some of you, I know you just got out of class, to folks from the community, to Mr. Buckley's friends and family. We are delighted to have you here. And tonight we are gathering to learn from the remarkable construction achievement that garnered international recognition. The story of the reconstruction of I-95 is not just about concrete and steel. It is a testament to the spirit of innovation, collaboration, and excellence that defines the Widener community. So we extend our sincerest gratitude to Mr. Buckley for generously sharing his time and expertise with us. His leadership and vision combined with collective efforts of the entire team that was responsible for this outstanding accomplishment that really does go beyond the realms of construction. So it's a story of engineering brilliance, business acumen that will continue to inspire us all. So as we embark on this journey, 12 days in June, we are privileged to witness firsthand the unfolding of this inspiring tale that intertwines construction, engineering, business, and achievement. We appreciate Mr. Buckley for bringing together an impressive panel of folks who played pivotal roles in this endeavor. And I am going to introduce Mr. Rob Buckley. I must say a little bit more about you in just a few minutes, but we have a lot of Widener pride here. But he's president and owner of Buckley and Company. And also sitting next to him is Dr. Archie Filshill, innovator and entrepreneur, CEO and owner of Aero Aggregates. We had also planned to have two other individuals on the panel. They were unable to make it due to work emergencies. Harold Windish, PennDOT Assistant District Executive for Construction, and Dean Abazi, PennDOT Senior Assistant District Executive for Maintenance and also Structural Engineer. So we thank everyone thank you two for being here. Thank the other two for the effort, despite their not being able to be here. But again, I have to share just a little bit more about Rob Buckley. They are a Widener family, and we're so happy that you're here today. And his wife, Patty, is a 1981 nursing graduate. Yay! Smart man, he knew to lead the clapping, okay? And his daughters, Caitlin and Kelly, are also both Widener graduates, and we're delighted to have the entire Widener family here. And in addition to this exciting feat that took place with I-95, Rob's had just a very distinguished career. He's worked throughout the Philadelphia area on many high-profile projects, including Market Street and Broad Street subways, sections of I-95, as well as other notable projects nationwide, including Walt Disney World, Epcot Center, terminal at San Francisco Airport, and even the sewage treatment plant in Puerto Rico. And I am very proud to say that he is a member of our Construction Management Advisory Board. So not only is he doing great things as a business leader and engineer, but he consistently gives back, and we are forever grateful for that. So without further ado, it is my great pleasure to turn the stage over to Mr. Rob Buckley and Dr. Filshill. We eagerly await these insights, anecdotes, and the fascinating narrative that will undoubtedly captivate us. And there will be an opportunity for questions when we are finished. So thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you. Thank you and welcome. Before we get started, I just want to say coming into this auditorium, it's changed a little different. It's probably been redecorated 3 or 4 times since we've been there. Just like to welcome everybody, and want to see a show of hands of how many people are here because the dean told you to be here in the student side, because if we were here back in the olden days, we had a choice of going to the bar or a fraternity party and coming here. The smart decision would be probably do both. You know, it's a little easier. But we'll see what happens. Also, I'd like to introduce my wife and Kelly, my daughter Caitlin, and Kelly Fishhill. The wives in this industry take a beating, I'll be honest with you. I'm very proud that Patty and I have been together for the last way too long, but since we grew, I met her. She's been my best friend and the love of my life the whole time. But the girls is very hard. We're never home. We leave for 3-4 days at a time, and it's a tough life, but it is very rewarding. Also, I'd like to introduce some of the guys we work with: Mole Man Rossi, Chrissy Christo Ball, Bob, and the most popular girl at Widener, Mary Canane, of course, Walters. And then also President Bruce, I thank you for coming. Dr. Bruce, I really appreciate you coming. I've listened to many of your speeches. I hope I can come halfway as close with yours, and we'll see what happens. Well, let's get started anyway. My name's Rob Buckley. I've been around the construction industry for about 48 years in the heavy highway, heavy foundation, excavation. We've worked in mills, hotels, airports, emergency projects, most notable the one we have here. Some of our business experience, just to give you a little background, we had a tire fire in Port Richmond in 1996. Destroyed about 8 lanes of traffic on 95 sections, and we actually bid that one and we rebuilt that one in record time. So emergencies aren't any really strange things to us. Also, Curlin Street, which is right down here in Chester, there was a gas tanker, fell 9 beams. They did not fail 100%. They sagged but did not collapse. It was originally built in 1960, and we were able to rebuild that one as well. 9th and Columbia, or now 9th and Cecil B. DeMore Avenue. Back then, the gallery was ready to open in Philadelphia right around Christmas time, and that did have a problem also, and we actually rebuilt that one. Someone just walked in the door late as usual, John Bailey, known as JB, my roommate. Also, we've been together 40 years, worked at Buckley and Company. Don't think that's a full-time job either, you know, in case you're wondering. Okay, somebody wouldn't let you go. Your boss is tough. Yeah, okay. Thanks for showing up. Okay. Some of the other things, more recently, we had Hurricane Ida came through and dropped about 15 foot of water on Vine Street. We were lucky enough to go down there and try to help out the department. We pumped about 36 million gallons of water on that one. The sensational part about that is younger people in the crowd probably were really happy with that because we saved the Welcome Back America pot concert right down there on the Parkway. So that was very important. We got that underway. Some of our other experiences, we play with snow. It's a lot of fun. The dirt equipment doesn't know whether it's in dirt or concrete or snow. So we do a food distribution center, Eastwick, sometimes a stadium, sometimes Broad Street and whatnot. It's a lot of fun. So we'll move on to what we have going on. The fact is on 995, the section of 95 we have carries about 160,000 cars a day. It's about 2 million people that were inconvenienced in the 12-day period, about 40%, and that's a sliding scale on the GDP going up the East Coast. So the interesting part of this was Sunday morning, there was a fuel tanker, 8,500 gallons, lost control on the ramp on Cottman Avenue. Shortly after that, 4 lanes collapsed. I don't want to dwell upon this, but the tragic part of the thing was Nathaniel Moody, who was a truck driver in there, he did perish in there beyond repair and recognition. I was there right after the fire was starting to settle down a little bit, and that's it. So it gives you an idea of the intensity of the flames that were there, and you couldn't even get near it. And the police department, of course, allowed me to get right in there and try to start figuring this thing out. Some of the major concerns we had underneath Cottman Avenue, and this is really part of the risk of the job. There's water lines, there's pipes, there's utilities. We bid the job originally and we weren't sure the compressive strength of the material. So basically what we had, you had 8,500 gallons of gasoline that leaked into the sewers, and typically it wouldn't be a problem, but the Baxter water treatment plant actually has a drinking water, and they still have combination sewers in Philadelphia, and it was back in the old days, dilution was a solution to pollution. That was the saying they always had, so you couldn't figure out what to do with it. Well, dilute it. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, that's great until 8,500 gallons runs out in the river and the drinking water was polluted. So that was some of the concerns we have. There's a few more there. You know, the box culvert, there's terracotta pipes, which is a clay pipe that won't take heat real well, plastic pipes that just straight melt and whatnot. Some of the other concerns we had for the engineers in the group, it was 57 degrees radius. There was a radius of 3,000 feet on there, and the beauty of that was we had no drawings, we had no details, we had no nothing on what we could have. So there's some of the concerns we had. We weren't sure the utilities, weren't sure the box culvert. The bridge was 57 degrees, 37-degree radius. It's bifurcated, which means one side's higher than the other. Had to reroute the SEPTA buses, and thank God Leslie Richards from SEPTA actually jumped in. This was a testament of American spirit where everyone pretty much jumped in the whole thing. So there we are. Not sure what to do. 7:45, we got a phone call, and Patty's seen this happen before. Immediately got up, drove to Philadelphia, had a brief conversation. Harold Windisch was supposed to be here today. He ended up with cooties, so he canceled out on me. And then Dina Bozzi, one of the other engineers, the structural engineer, he had to cover him, so that's how that worked. The dean was very complimentary the way she phrased it, but I'll tell you the truth. So anyway, the discussion came. We actually had a choice of 3 materials on this. It was recycled, we knew was in the area, dirt, or we had foam aggregate, lightweight, which basically weighs about 20 pounds a cubic foot rather than 120 would be your standard dirt. So the decision made was happened. We had everything figured out about 9 o'clock in the morning. Archie, not having any life either with Kelly over there, decided that, picked up the phone on Sunday morning, and he actually said what we can do. So when we go to this, all you engineers pay attention. We had mechanical drawing, and Professor Coe would have a heart attack on the next picture. We had to roll our pencils, and computers weren't really good. We had key punch cards. We had to take Fortran 4, which was a huge waste of time, and Cobalt, another waste of time language. But you can look it up in ancient history on that. You guys really get bored. I'm available in cassette or 8-track in case you can't sleep tonight. And, we can really get technical with this. But we came up with a plan, and it had been done quick, and it had to be accurate, it had to be safe. So there it is. There was the plan. I know what you're thinking now. It's one of my better drawings, I'll be honest with you. But that was done in the first hour of the decision, and I explained that to the Secretary of Transportation, Mike Carroll. One thing I have to note there, it is a Philly special. It's kind of a football thing. I was lucky enough to be the quarterback on this team, so we dubbed it the Philly special. Just for the engineering teachers and professors, it's not to scale. Okay, in case there's, I just throw that in there and see what we got. Our solution, obviously, we had to detour, come up with a plan, safe, accurate, well thought out, of course. 160,000 cars. We also got a call from the emergency management team, the state police, Jerry McVeigh, state police, Greg Reale, fire department, Tony Hudgens. They're all friends, and we've worked with them for 30, 40 years, which always made it interesting. Coast Guard jumped right on the boom on there to try to get the gasoline under control. We also had backfilled the center part, temporary 3 lanes northbound, which we were allowed to restrict it. And also we used the lightweight because of the compressive strength, which was the gamble. Now here's the other part that's interesting. As a contractor, you have to be very careful when you go out there. Of course, you indemnify everyone and you hold everyone harmless. So if you haven't taken any business law classes, I strongly recommend you pay attention to that, and they'll explain what that means. But that's the risk you take when you take these jobs on. If it had not worked, I probably wouldn't be here. I'd be in jail. So couple short stints there, nothing really long, so it's really not bad, But anyway, that's another story. Okay, we had some methods of backfilling. We used 500 wire walls, 2,000 feet of the high-strength fabric, which the fabric was about 2.5 miles. And thank God Archie was there because he took the obligation on to take the responsibility on the design with Snobble Engineering. And that was like a weight lifted off me tremendously, and I do appreciate that because at that time, you don't really know who your friends are till you get to those type situations, and I was very fortunate, cashed in a lot of favors. Sunday morning, you're telling the designers who usually tell us what to do. By the way, I only need to design, take all the time you want, but you have till tomorrow morning or you're fired. So that's always fun as a contractor telling the engineer what to do. At the time, it was 8 o'clock in the morning. This is Sunday morning now. This is a timeline event on what was happening. 9 o'clock in the morning, we had a game plan with that wonderful design. And Abenizio was on the project. Peter Abenizio made a deal. He could take it down. It was half down anyway. So I figured, well, it's not a big deal. Let's see what he can do. So 6 days, he got it down and removed and allowed us to coordinate on what we had to do. Monday morning, we have Governor Shapiro, and I'll be honest with you, it was a very awkward conversation with Governor Shapiro when he asked who I voted for. And I tried to dance around that a little bit. I said, I voted for the winner. Bullshit. What did you do? Okay, well, I didn't vote for none of you, and I'm going to tell you why. So, and in retrospect, we became very good friends. So now I call him Governor Superhero, not Shapiro. So he's done everything, and they got it done as quick as they could. But he was saying it's going to take 3 months. The experts told him it would take 3 months. So we had a couple discussions with that. Mike Carroll also is the Secretary of Transportation, and when I met Mike Carroll the first time, he banged on my window and he said, "I'm Mike Carroll, Secretary of Transportation." Mike, nice to meet you. Yeah. So about a half hour later, he came back, he banged on the window again. He said, "I'm Mike Carroll, I'm Secretary of Transportation. Yeah, I heard you the first time, I'm not deaf." But as it turns out, he became a real good friend. And he said, "I'm not here, I'm not going to leave you." And normally I'm saying, and I told him, "Look, I'll get with your photo op in a minute," thinking it's a photo op, and then, no, it was the real deal. He was very helpful. He didn't leave. So I have a lot of respect for those guys. They were with us the whole time on that project, and this is part of the political pressure that we'll get into in a little bit. The next day, we also got a visit from Pete Buttigieg, Secretary Salam Barat, who actually is in charge of all the highway work across Pennsylvania, and Mike Carroll, who also never left the site. As the demolition went on, we also, Governor Shapiro, Mike, Jim Kenney, they were worrying about the other half because the way we were putting this thing up, they weren't sure. They didn't know what to do. Ryan Boyer, who's the president of the building trades, gave us a wonderful recommendation to Governor Shapiro. And when I met Governor Shapiro, the problem was I had just crawled out from underneath the machine. I stunk because I was up for 3 days. I was bleeding from my eyes because of the dust and everything like that and the fire. You couldn't even tell really what I was, except for the sweat. And Ryan Boyer tells me, "Yeah, this guy runs the best company in the city, if not the state, if not the country." And I'm thinking Shapiro probably thought I was either homeless or I'll work for food, so I'm sure he didn't have too many sleepless nights. But bottom line is they gave us the job, and we were successful. And I said, "Look, you got to start talking to the horse's head, not the horse's ass with this 3 months thing. I'll have it open by 4th of July. So he said, "Oh, you're the best." And I said, "No, well, all we have to do is prove it." So it was kind of fun. And then also, I don't know if you saw it, but about 8:30, he also said that, we're going to have a live stream. What the hell's a live stream? We want no part of this thing. And I'm thinking, my God, my guys, half of them are criminals, half they come from all different backgrounds. How the hell are we going to put this up? I don't want them showing different body parts or doing things. So I said, okay. So he says, well, we're going to do that. Okay. So I said, all right, if you're going to do that, I'm going to put up a sign. So that was our first campaign that we actually started. Maybe you saw it, maybe you didn't. I don't know, but it was a lot of fun. I guess next we're going to get into Archie, and let's talk about some ultra lightweight fill and what actually happened during that period of time.
Thanks,
All right.
Thanks. So as you can probably tell, Rob's a really difficult guy to work with, get along with, and cooperate with. But I've had the pleasure before this project of working with Rob on a couple of projects.
Can you explain why 95 collapsed in the first place? Like, will you get to that?
So he showed a picture. It was a tanker truck that came down Cotman Avenue full of 8,500 gallons of gasoline and couldn't make the turn, was going too fast, and hit the abutment and ignited. So the entire tanker truck lit on fire and literally melted the beams that were supporting northbound 95, and that's what caused the collapse.
Did you get to that before I got here?
Yeah. That's all right. All good. So what I would say was, so when I first met Rob was right after we started Aero Aggregates, and I think what I learned about Rob even before 95 was someone that's always thinking outside the box. What's the easiest way, best way to skin a cat? What's the most optimal way to do it? So I had the benefit of working with Rob on Chestnut Street and on Montgomery Avenue, but like Rob said, I got a call probably around 8:30 in the morning from Rob saying, hey, we have an issue here. We think your material could be the way to go. And the double-edged sword for us was Governor Shapiro came out and made this announcement with Rob that we're going to use this brand new material, which was great in one respect that we got the recognition, but the downside was everybody thought this was the first time this product was ever going to be used. not knowing the history that it's been used in Europe for almost 30 years. And because they said it was recycled glass, a lot of the public thought we were going to stack up broken bottles and drive over it. As Rob knows, you know, they went, as Rob says many a time, they went to the experts at Wawa to ask them their opinion. And it was, you know, a lot of, I'm not going to drive on it first. So there was a lot of interesting PR before things got going. So this is the material. It's an ultra lightweight aggregate. It's been in use mostly in Europe for about 30 plus years. And it's made all from 100% recycled glass. So at Aero, we take the glass that nobody wants, that would otherwise go to landfill. And these are broken up, you know, bottles, mayonnaise jars, beer bottles. We crush it into a powder, convert it to a heating process, and expand it with air bubbles, closed cell bubbles. And we do it right down the road in Eddystone, right in the old Baldwin Locomotive Works, is the first plant in the US. So this is what the aggregate looks like. And these are kind of the properties that we talk about, what makes it a little bit more unique as a material. We consider it ultra lightweight because there are lightweight aggregates available in the market, but those aggregates are about 4 to 5 times heavier than foam glass. Because it's a closed cell, it also has very good insulating properties and durability properties. It doesn't absorb water, which means it does really well during freeze-thaw. You can use it as an insulating material. It has a very high friction angle, which makes it stand up vertical very well, and then a lot of other neat properties. But on the I-95 job, these were kind of the 3 properties that really came into play, and it's what we promote about the material, but all 3 of these came into play. Ultra lightweight because of the concern of those underground utilities, the free draining, the stormwater system where they were going to build the wall was going to be underneath the wall. So the wall itself had to be able to pass water through the wall to get down into the stormwater system. And then this high friction angle, which gave it the ability to stand almost vertical. And then the other thing we talk about is the speed of installation. Normally when you're placing soils or fills, it's going in an 8-inch lift. You have to roll it, compact it. You need optimum weather. You know, if it rains, you have to let it dry out. If it's too dry, you have to wet it. And with foam glass, it avoids all of that. It goes in 3 times thicker lift thickness and in any weather, so even during torrential downpours. As Rob said also, this did get international attention to the point that I got a call to attend a briefing with the governor and the president about what is this new material that we're going to put I-95 on. So I called Rob, we got a briefing. Rob said, you go. I'm not going, to make sure they don't come to the job site. I said, you don't want to meet the president? He says, no, not right now, I don't. He said, my fear is if the president shows up, the job's going to be shut down all day between Secret Service, security. I'm going to lose a whole day's production. You go down, you do the talk, and just keep them off the job site. So I got to go down to a hangar at Philly Airport and give a brief overview of what the material is. This was not the first use. If you're from the region, I mean, we've got a lot of material under aprons at Philly Airport, the on-ramp at Girard Avenue. So it just gave a lot of local projects that have been in place for multiple years, but without anyone really knowing because no one really knew about the material. So with that, part of Rob's loose leaf drawing, which was literally the drawing they used day one, we converted it into this. And when we heard about the job, we knew this was going to be the fix. We had just done something very similar at JFK Airport, not as an emergency, but as a temporary ramp with the same type of cross section. So that's why I was able to say to Rob, what do you think? Like, if you want, we can take this whole thing, we'll get the engineer that did this last job, we'll turn it around really quickly, and we'll take care of all the geosynthetics and everything else. And Rob had a lot of other things on his plate at the time, so he said, good, you take this. So that's how it got started. And the idea was, we use a high-strength geogrid that you see here, so we can build the material vertical, and this is going to be the roadway for 95, and the whole idea is that this 20 feet of fill was going to be 85% lighter than if they used regular fill to protect the sewer and the water line that was below it. The other benefit that we had, because the material is so lightweight, we can put almost 100 cubic yards in a tractor trailer without maxing out the weight of the truck, as opposed to a dump truck, which holds about 14 cubic yards. So on this project, in these types of trucks, if you can remember, 95's closed because of the accident. So the Secretary of DOT asked Rob, what's your biggest concern is how are we going to get this aggregate from Eddystone to the job site because 95's closed? Well, with Rob's relationships, we got trooper escorts to escort our trucks up the soft shoulder to get to the job site. But we're also able to show them that with 90 truckloads of the ultra lightweight, it replaced the equivalent of over 600 dump trucks trying to make the same route because that added volume. We also found this to be the best staging area we've ever had to drop off our material because it was literally on northbound 95. The next part of this was, and Rob will get into the details of how he managed to do this, but we were working basically down in between the two bridge abutments to bring up the fill. And here you can see the layer of the geogrid being placed, which acts as the reinforcement. So every 18 inches, we put a layer of reinforcement and build up the foam glass. And they use this, basically a concrete conveyor with a chute on it. Let me mute this so it doesn't go loud. But just to give you an idea. So they were able to take the chute, and material's light enough it could convey down, and they would place an 18-inch lift with the chute and then come back and compact that with a piece of equipment afterwards. So the other thing that was kind of remarkable about this, from my viewpoint, I've been in the construction field as an engineer and as a contractor for over 30 years. And Rob touched upon, I'm sure he'll talk more about it, maybe the best example of cooperation, teamwork that I've ever seen on any project. Everybody knew it was an emergency. Rob mobilized I think you called in every chip you probably knew. Everybody chipped in, contractors that had nothing to do with the project. How can we help? What do you need? The welded wire baskets that we use, we borrowed from another contractor because we needed them immediately, replaced them later. But when Rob tells you that they talked about a 3-month to 6-month time period to build this, the thing that I think a lot of people miss was they talked about this being reconstructed in 12 days, which is amazing. 6 days was before Rob got there to demo it by the other contractor. So the rebuild for our portion with the foam glass was done in 3 days, which sets any record we've ever seen for the amount of material that was placed and compacted. And while he's here in front of his friends, the other thing I'll give him credit for, of all the people I've ever worked with construction companies, him, his brother Will, 14, 16, 18 hours a day. If they weren't directing, they were working. If you look at some of the pictures, it's Rob on the plate tamper. He put the Secretary of DOT to work. You're standing here, grab some grid, pull it out. So nobody was left sitting around not knowing what to do. The other couple facts that we like to point out about it was not only was it a record job, they ended up using about 8,000 cubic yards of material. And for people that don't have a reference point for that, at Aero, we convert that to beer bottles. So the project basically diverted over 7 million recycled bottles from landfill that went into this fill. And you're going to talk about the reuse also, I think. Yeah?
No, just.
So
another thing, just to equate for people that don't really understand what 8,000 yards look like, we kind of equated it, what a wheelbarrow is around your house. A full wheelbarrow would be 36,000 wheelbarrows of material that you would actually place to give you a reference of what it would actually take as far as that goes. And you guys in the back, getting back to the Wawa thing, if you really get stuck on thermodynamics or questions, go down to the Wawa. There's plenty of experts down there to help you out in case you got hung up on it. That's what I do anyway. Go ahead.
I'll turn this back to you. No, I'll turn it back to you here because you're going to get into Friday.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Yeah. My turn. Okay.
You're back.
Thank you. All right, that Archie's something else. That guy's as smooth as glass. I just figured I'd
Awesome.
let you know there. So anyway, we get into, well, he's not done. He's not done. Don't clap. Yeah, he's not done, but no. One of the things that you don't realize is in our industry, you're always competing, you're pushing, you're trying to find a better way to do it. You're always trying to improve. You're only as good as the last job you have. And you don't really know where you stand in the industry, but when you needed people, people that weren't there, it's one of the things I got to touch on. From the president all the way down, no pressure there when the president says this is the most important job in the U.S. today. There's no pressure there politically. You knew you had to get the job. You indemnify everyone and that. So this was Friday morning. We actually started. The demo was half done. It's half baked. You can see up in the upper corners. We kind of said, okay, you guys are done. We're going to take over now, and that was it. We had already staged the material from Thursday, so they were about over a day behind when we took off. Put a pipe in the bottom, you see there, for a bouncing pipe in case it didn't work. Weren't sure of the utilities, weren't sure of the rain. And when we started placing it, my God, did it rain. It just rained and rained and rained. It just never let up there for a while. And one thing we learned is with Archie's material, when you look at it, it's actually 20 pounds to the cubic foot. You don't realize, there goes Archie's material floating all over the place, and now they say the wall's failing. So we went down to Wawa, we asked them, is the wall failing, of course, and they said no. So we continued to place it. But putting this stuff in the rain is really one of the advantages we have, because we could have never got this. You're looking about soil density, compaction, and whatnot on what you have, and you're looking for optimal moisture, and you're always playing with, is it too wet, is it too dry? You don't have the room, you don't have that. One of the things you can see here is the baskets you can see up here in the corner. That was the wire basket. It's reinforced, and the fabric really has a lot to do with it because it is compressive strength. And Archie took the obligation. It's hard to see in this picture, but you can see it's 57 degrees skewed. We weren't sure of the condition of the abutment. They were burnt, so we were trying to take cores as we went up. We weren't sure if they were going to fail. We had to get the line, if this thing with the skew, when you're on a radius, we narrowed up the lanes to 11 foot, so we weren't even sure if we got the geometry wrong. And we did this with a 40-year-old theodolite and string lines. So a lot of it had to do just with experience on what we had over the years. We didn't have GPSs, we didn't have any of that, so it's kind of good that coming through the ranks, we weren't really given all these things, and that's what kind of made us successful, plus our connections. Now, speaking of President Biden, he did come with Governor Shapiro, superhero there, and they're flying around in a helicopter, and he said, this is the most important job in the U.S. today. So there was no pressure there, and Archie, like he said, he went down there. I did tell him not to come because I was worried about once you have momentum on these jobs and you're telling your guys, hey, you're not going to get lunch, you're not going to get dinner, you're not going home, you're not going to Little League, so you're all fired. So now all of a sudden we're going to stop, and that was a concern about that because I don't know if you've ever seen this. They come in with 18, 20 people with Uzis and all kind of crazy 50 millimeter guns, and they just throw you out. You can stop and come back when we're done. So I had nothing, no disrespect to the president, but we had a job to do, and I was more worried about getting it open because you're inconvenience every business and every person up and down the East Coast at that point in time. Here we go, and we're in full production here, and what we were able to do is we took concrete conveyors and we kind of converted them. And at that time, we were in full production. We were cutting baskets. We had assembly line. We were sticking the baskets in. We actually used elephant trunks for concrete because the chute wouldn't make the bottom, and it was short. But the material was so light, we were able to use the elephant trunk and kind of place it a lot closer than you would. When we got started there, the Roy Pereira, who owns Pereira Concrete, came to me and said, it's not going to work. Well, that's fantastic, Roy. That's exactly what I hear. There's no pressure on me here. He said, you're not going to work. He said, it won't go up. The charging conveyor was too light and was rolling backward. So we took a sample on there and we tried putting in a bobcat, and sure enough, it didn't work. So I said, okay, I'll tell you what. I can weld and I can burn, and we're going to stay here tonight till we figure it out. So what we were able to do is use a charging conveyor that we used on a stone slinger that actually on another project, because there's what they wanted me to load it with, that little machine in the bottom, and we used an 8-yard loader in there. So there was some anxious moments there, wondering if this damn thing's even going to work. But we shot it up on the main, and we were able to overcome, adapt, improvise, and it's one thing you have to do in our world. You have to do it quickly, safely, and at all times keep it moving. About 8 o'clock Saturday, about 3/4 of the way up, at that time we were in full production. You could see the problems we're going to have over here. Because of the skew, we had to cut back for the barrier, and there's pictures of that showing it later. But the stub walls on the demolition were not removed. We had to get that. Weren't sure of the abutments. We had that spaghetti hanging out, the meatballs. It gives you an idea of what's hanging down there. Gives you the compaction tools, which Archie's supervising, and we appreciate that because the inspectors weren't really sure of this material. And there were some anxious moments there. And Archie went down to the Wawa. I'm not sure he was there for advice or whatever, but get a hoagie maybe. I don't know. There's a wild idea. But this gives you an idea right through Father's Day. We worked through there, and I was real proud of our people. I have 150 people that I work with on a daily basis from Buckley and Company. We're really proud of what they did. Office staff, everyone was involved in this operation. And we provided them breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There's no lunch official break, no nothing. That worked right through, and that was it. The only way I can describe it, if you get involved in this, it is hell. You're up for hours and hours nonstop, and you get delirious, and you have to be careful. No one gets hurt. No one got hurt. There's another interesting thing. We use this product, never used it before. That's a moment slab. One of the downsides to the product, it's so light, you really can't form anything. So what we're able to do is PennDOT had a project with another company that they were sending, so we went up there and we stole those things off another company. And what it was, the moment slab, that's the area on the bottom for the overturn. There's no way to pin the barrier down, and then that way there's slide and all the particulars. I can get into the thing if you can't sleep tonight, but for argument's sakes, you're actually using that lower area as a moment slab, a bending moment on the up parapet, so you had to have the parapet and it had to line up. So we had to make that fit in there, and we were taking 500-ton cranes, passing it across to 300-ton cranes because we couldn't get around the block. So this gives you an idea what your bifurcated barrier right there, Faddis, a company, this was when we knew we had the job right here. Bifurcated barrier or asymmetrical barrier means they're not symmetrical left to right. There's about 6 to 8 inches difference. If you can see the arrows there, one side of the parapet, that thing's called a median centerline barrier. If I would have used precast, what happens is it would have been too wide, and we would only had 2 lanes going in there. When I called the Faddis company, Bob Hess, who was very helpful from Faddis, he said, we sold the company to a Canadian group. That's fantastic. That's just what I want to hear. I got an emergency on my hand. I got to talk to the Canadians about trying to get stuff cast and made here in Philadelphia. So what do you think they told me? Good luck. So anyway, they went ahead and they went around their Canadian people. They bucked them and they made the forms for me, and they cast those. That was designed. It was actually fabricated, built, and placed within 4 days. So that's the kind of cooperation you need on these jobs. Now, one of the things you have is you got to remember the stuff, we built this completely ass backward. We kind of used material that we had, and the material that was available, then we designed on what we were going to do while we were building it. So that was kind of the cool part, but we knew it would work, and we're using pre-approved material. So one of the real keys to it was this barrier right here that we had, and I can't tell you how long it would take really to form an asymmetrical barrier with 2 sides, and what we figured, they worked 24 hours a day casting this, and a few pieces at a time. We only had time to build 3 forms, and we cycled it as quick as we could all the way through. So that's basically one of the keys to the job. We knew we had it at that point. So now we're into Wednesday, and we caught a rain delay right off the bat. Now the interesting part, it's actually PM, not AM on there. The rain delay started at 6 o'clock. The interesting part was, on that night, the Phillies actually canceled. And for some reason, I don't know why or how, when we were here, it missed it a little bit, but it did not rain. Now, when you place asphalt, it has to be a certain temperature. We put 2 lifts in, and it has to be less than 500 degrees. The base ran into 500-ton lifts. It has to cool before you put your top on at basically 100 degrees or less when you place it. So as we went on, with the rain, after we finished at 5 a.m. the first night on there, it came down and it rained. Mike Carroll came up with the idea. He says, well, we can get the racetrack. I'm a big race fan up at Pocono 500, and this is kind of cooperation. We actually took a jet dryer on the back of that and actually dried the lines so we can actually put the stripes on there so we could open the highway. And then basically, I think what everyone misses also is you can see the PennDOT people are always good at blocking traffic. So that's, so we kind of everyone did what they did best, Bottom line, gives you an idea how many trucks were involved in that. A normal contractor would go broke with that thing, but that's okay. They were very helpful as far as that. About 18 message boards directing traffic. You had over 50 custom signs. We had direction, highway, PennDOT, cruise. Basically, it was 100% offered by ETA and most of the Buckley group, our group that actually assisted, directed, and did this work. So we're running all over the place, dancing in between 160,000 cars, so it's fun. Political pressure, I've never experienced any political pressure. As far as cooperation, I've never experienced so much from the top down, from the president down. The federal government was involved with Pete Buttigieg, the administrator, Governor Shapiro, Mike Carroll, the building trades, which are tough. You know, here in Philadelphia, I don't know if you heard of the building trades, but they're a lot of fun to play with. And for 35 years old, I look a little beat up, I guess. It's hard to believe, but we've gone through some battles with them, but it's always a thrill a minute. They come up with crazy ideas and crazier than mine. But anyway, I was lucky enough to be the quarterback on that. We reopened the job on Friday, the 23rd. We were actually done on Thursday, but all the pomp and circumstance, basically we had to go an extra day, but we did have it open. So this is me. I figured it would be nice that Shapiro wrote Buckley's the best, and we figured, oh, what the heck, we might as well. The two gentlemen on the left bottom there, they were probably the happiest people. That's Harold Windish is on the right facing you guys, and Dan Abazi, he's a structural engineer. Two great gentlemen that we work very well with. Became good friends with Governor Shapiro and our crew and everything, and they had all kind of pomp and circumstance. The Philly Fanatic and Swoop and everyone else was there. This is our crew. They're the girls. They wanted their own separate picture. You know, they wouldn't talk to the boys at the end there, but we're fine now. Everything's fine again. The lower corner is Mike Carroll and myself, who was there. Yes, I did put him to work. Yes, he's not a bad raker. You know, he can hold a grade too. So, I mean, but he was in charge of the transportation, the traffic. That's part of the crew. That's not everybody that was involved in it, but that was in between shifts. One of the last days, some of the guys and girls and ladies that were involved in that project, but there's thousands and thousands of man hours, and I was lucky enough to be the quarterback on there. Sub-services, Thackeray Crane, Anderson, SJA, there's hundreds and hundreds of people involved in this. It just looks like a bunch of names on there. I don't want to bore you with it, but you know, that's the kind of cooperation you need to pull these things off. Material used, barrier, you know, aggregate, stone, blocks, Archie's material, and affectionately known as Archie's stuff, not Archie's stuff, you know, so the Golden Rocks, you know, again, they had us on the Philly Live, I guess because the Phillies had a rain delay or whatever they were doing, canceled it out, signs and what. It was a very proud moment, very proud moment. They threw us a party at Infinity Live with Governor Superhero there, and it was really an honor to be there. We have the 5th generation right there in the lower corner, the lovely Miss Patty Buckley, and they're escorting me there. But we really it was really a nice time. We've never really had that kind of cooperation or celebration ever. Ongoing Monday, just to give you an idea, the project moves on. We also Pocono 500 by giving them some advertising, gave us some free tickets. So we went up there for a race. We'll probably never be asked back, but it was nice to go one time. You know, my crew likes the party. Kamala Harris came down with Julia Sue for their accolades when saw what they got done later on in life, but it was very nice to have their support there. Steel Day. Let me explain the steel. You talk about cooperation. When we order steel, usually on the manufacturing process, it takes between 9 and 12 months, typically on a standard order, and this really wasn't a standard order. High Steel out of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, a good ally, with the help of Josh Shapiro and Austin Davis. He's another politician. He's on closest to me here, both very good individuals, good friends. We were able to get that steel fabricated in 2 months. It's almost unheard of. That means you fabricate the plate, it's rolled in Coatesville, it's hauled to Lancaster, it's a welded plate section. It was designed, painted, and delivered in 2 months, which allowed us to put the permanent structure in. 16 girders, 56 members, and 48 diaphragms. And that's it. The most recent thing, we had the governor come down with the trade unions, and we had a little celebration again. Now, with that said, Archie, we have a little film here. I'm not sure if this starts. It starts.
At 6:32 a.m. on Sunday, June 11th, a fuel tanker carrying 8,500 gallons of fuel crashed on the Cottman Avenue off-ramp. This section of I-95 carries more than 160,000 vehicles daily. Approximately 2 million people were inconvenienced for 12 days. Almost 20% of commerce on the East Coast was impacted. That morning at 7:45 a.m., Rob Buckley received a call from Harold Windish, a PennDOT area construction engineer. Rob Buckley drew out a rough concept on a piece of paper. They decided on foam glass aggregate after a phone call at 9 a.m. with Archie Filshall, president, owner and manufacturer of glass aggregate fill located in Eddystone, PA. At 8 a.m., detours were announced to reroute drivers between exits 30 and 32 on I-95. Philadelphia Fire Department was still putting the fire out. Once the site was declared safe by the National Transportation Safety Board, at 12 p.m., demolition began. On Monday, June 12th at 12 p.m., Governor Shapiro signed a proclamation of disaster emergency. At 6:45 p.m., the governor stated that the temporary rebuild would take approximately 3 months to complete. On June 13th at 11 a.m., U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, Administrator of the Federal Highway Administration, Shailen Bhatt, and PennDOT Secretary Mike Carroll traveled to the site and assessed the damage as demolition was ongoing. On Wednesday, June the 14th at 11 a.m., Governor Shapiro, PennDOT Secretary Mike Carroll, Mayor Jim Kenney, and Ryan Boyer hired Buckley and Company to complete the project. On Thursday, June the 15th, 8,000 cubic yards, approximately 7 million glass bottles of ultra-lightweight aggregate started to be delivered and stockpiled. By 8 p.m. on June the 16th, Buckley and Company was ready to begin the rebuild. Dr. Archie Filshall, owner and manufacturer of Aero Aggregates, supervised the placement of the material. This project holds the record for the highest production of placement of glass fill in the company's history. Saturday, June the 17th. Everyone was working together as an assembly line, practicing safe measures at all times. Cutting of the fabric, installing the baskets, placing and compacting the aggregate. By that evening at 8 p.m., Buckley and Company had finished 3/4 of the 6-lane backfilled portion of Interstate 95. President Joe Biden stated, "This is the most important job in the United States today." From Father's Day Sunday, June the 18th, work continued non-stop. And by Tuesday, June the 20th at 7 a.m., we had completed the backfilling for the 6-lane Cotman Avenue, I-95 repair. Set the Gravix T-wall parapet barrier with a moment slab cast in one panel that acted as a moment slab and parapet on the roadway. Once the Gravix wall was set, we locked it in with an additional 810 tons of 2A modified stone. On top of a layer of 2A modified stone, a concrete leveling pad with AA rapid set concrete hot mix from SJA Concrete was poured. The fattest precast asymmetrical bifurcated median barrier was set on this pad. 7:30 p.m., June 21st, we were staged and placed asphalt base pavement, a total of 829 tons, and by 4 a.m. June the 22nd, crews were finished paving. Overnight heavy rains soaked the roadway. Pocono Raceway, compliments of Mike Carroll, Secretary of Transportation, provided a jet dryer to dry the highway to allow line striping that was performed on June 22nd and 23rd to prepare for the opening of Interstate 95.
Everyone has worked around the clock to get this done, and we have completed each phase of this project safely and way ahead of schedule. You know, the experts that first day on Sunday told us it would take months to reopen I-95. We are now on track to open I-95 in just about 2 weeks after the collapse.
That is awesome. Rob, that is awesome, Rob and Archie. I know we only have a few more minutes. I'm sure we have some questions that folks want to ask. So can we take a few questions? If you want to clap again, we can give them another round of applause. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Absolutely amazing.
Yep. And my kids did never heard me talk in public before, so I just want to thank them for showing up, because I know that, Dad, your hair, Dad, Dad, you're too fat, button your shirt, this, that, Dad, your zipper's down, oh, what the hell. So I hope I didn't disappoint them or embarrass them like I normally do.
I'm sure they're very proud. We have a mic over here in case, and over here, if we have any questions. Yes, right here. We have two, one right here and one over here, and a third.
Rob, my question for you is just the roadway as it stands now. You said that it's a permanent fix now?
Yeah, well, right now what happened was that was just a temporary fix on the glass fill that everyone was so concerned about, the aggregate. The importance was we weren't sure of the conditions of the utilities were underneath, because it is a fairly large box culvert. If that would have failed, the roadway would have failed no matter what we put on the top. So we tried to build, the way that was designed on that napkin, believe it or not, it didn't work out. It worked out pretty close to that. We were able to narrow the lanes down and have 3 lanes in each direction. So now we're working on the outside. It's now on the permanent structure where we can sleep a little better, knowing that you're now on a permanent structure. The back walls were rebuilt. We work 24/7. We're still working 7 days a week, and we haven't had a day off since June 12th on what we're doing. So, I mean, yes, to answer your question, now what we're doing is after we remove that, we're building the back walls on the middle, and that's where it stands today. We're going to put the balance of the other 8 beams in the center, fill it in. We should have it completed by about, well, we were told by the politicians it has to be done in under a year. So it's going to be done before June 11th. It might be June 10th, but that'll be less than a year, so that's what we were instructed to do. But no, it's good that it's on there. The lanes are narrow, and we were able to have that. And that's why you see the speed reduction to 45 miles an hour, is because on PennDOT, there's a lot of standards that go with this, and you have to really understand it well to understand it. But we were able to get the narrower lanes because of the speed. When you have a standard lane's 12 foot, it would not fit with 3 lanes in each direction on the volume. So in order to do that, it was 45 miles an hour. We had to slow that down a little bit. Also, I'd like to thank John, Nahama, McGuire, and Modge for showing up today, even though they're late, so, I mean, what are roommates for, you know what I mean? Better late than never. Awesome. Oh, Jersey time. Oh, I apologize, okay.
I think we have another question over here.
Hi. This foam glass aggregate seems like an incredibly useful material, and you said that it's been used in Europe for about 30 years. Is there a reason it's not more popular in the U.S. or hasn't been used in the U.S. Before? I know this isn't the first time it was used, but it seems like it was. It's not been as popular.
Yeah, we get that question a lot. So it's got a long track record in Europe, and I think there's a couple reasons, but one of it is the recycling programs. The glass is all source separated. In the U.S., everything's single stream. So you have to go through the glass, the cleaning process to get it to be used. So we started here as the first kind of vertically integrated foam glass plant in 2017. So we have had several years of use, but obviously a project of this profile kind of brought it to the light. Most of what we do is infrastructure, but we do a lot of other stuff that's commercial, residential, using it as an insulator instead of styrofoam, stuff like that.
All right, awesome, thank you.
Sure.
Another thing that Archie didn't mention, when on the compression side, when you're dealing with soft material, what you're able to do is you're able to replace that 6-to-1. So if you take a foot of soil out on an exchange, if you're designing something, sometimes that's a good alternative. You can actually take 2 foot of material out, stack 12 foot, not affect your compressive strength of your material if you're worrying about that. And sometimes with utilities and whatnot, that gets expensive. The downside is the golden rocks are very expensive.
I think we had another question. Yes. I think time for one more.
So I heard that they found a dead body in the rubble after Shapiro visited. What complications did that create for you?
Well, there really wasn't a dead body. What the dead body was, and I don't want to get into it too heavy, it was Nathaniel Moody, who was in the truck that perished in there. So he was incinerated with the gas, and that was the dead body. But we had removed that with the NSTB, the National Safety Board of Transportation, before they released the project. So that's not really a... The tanker lost control, it flipped upside down, slid down the ramp, and everyone was saying, well, why can't you put fireproofing on the beams? One thing you have to do on these structures is you have to make sure there's no micro cracking, or then you have to inspect these. So if you cover it up with fireproofing, you won't be able to see it. You're probably creating a bigger problem. This doesn't happen that often, so a lot of people, can you fireproof it? Yes, you can. But then you're going to have a problem inspecting it. There's nothing better than a visual inspection. Measure your flanges, measure web. And there's a lot of standards you have to, 20% section loss, it should be replaced immediately. There's a whole lot of standards that go with that. But not to dwell upon that, we did have a fundraiser there at Christmas, and we were able to well $12,000 for the family of the Moody's, and we gave that to them at Christmas to use any way they deem necessary to try to help them out on a very difficult situation.
And Rob, I was going to ask a question, or tell a question. One of the questions we get asked a lot is, right, this was a temporary fix. They've excavated 8,000 yards of material. What do you do with the material? So what's kind of really unique with this project is they excavated it. Buckley has another project which was on the news all weekend, the CAP project over 95. That's going to be one of our largest projects ever. Buckley's taken the material from Cotman Avenue and being able to reuse it. And where he's also being humble is this weekend, what was supposed to take 3 to 4 days, they removed 140 beams to open up north.
Yeah,
How many?
116 beams were removed in 36 hours.
And got northbound 95 open. So that was maybe a smaller news story compared to the other one, but that was this weekend.
In fairness to these, when you're doing these jobs, they're custom on the fly. When you can plan work, you can plan it a lot easier, but plan it very well, because you're always on a limited time frame with a lot of aggravation all the way through there. It took a year of planning. Yes, we did it in 36 hours. We removed 116 precast beams, hauled them, removed them, and the back walls on top of that. So to say we're a little tired, yeah, I'm a little tired.
Well, I think you have a right to be. But we thank you so much for being here, Archie and Rob, and we have a little token of our appreciation.
Thank you so much.
For your time here with us at Widener today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
So much.
Thanks for coming.
Awesome.
Good to see you.
You too. And we're actually going to have a little reception. I know people have many more questions, and so want to be respectful of everyone's time, and especially you and Archie coming here and talking to us. This has been absolutely wonderful. And we have, again, a little reception that we would invite you all to stay for, and you can probably grab these two guys and ask them some more questions. And so, again, I'm so appreciative of you all being here, of Rob and Archie taking time out of their schedules to be with us, of the family coming. And for our students, engineering students, if you don't find that thermal help at Wawa, the School of Engineering has tutors. Okay, so we've got you covered. But thank you all so much for being here. This has been wonderful. We thank you for being a part of this and look forward to hearing much more. And engineering tries to take it credit for Rob, but he's actually a School of Business graduate. So I'm sure Dean Wheeler would appreciate that. Okay. So thank you all so much for being here, and let's thank them one more time.